It's one of the most common stories a man tells himself, a tragedy he replays in his mind over and over because there is a strange, bitter comfort in being the victim. She left. She gave up on us. She stopped trying. She found someone else. She betrayed what we had. You paint yourself as the victim in this story, the loyal soldier abandoned at his post. This narrative is a narcotic. It soothes the ego and absolves you of all responsibility. It allows you to remain the hero of your own fallen kingdom. But tonight, I am here to burn that story to the ground, because the story you tell yourself is a lie, a carefully constructed shield to protect your ego from a truth so devastating most men will never allow themselves to see it. Here's the truth. She didn't leave you. You left first. You abandoned the post months, maybe years, before she ever walked out the door. Her leaving was not the start of the tragedy. It was the final scene of a play that you wrote, directed, and starred in. This is the story of how men abandon themselves and how they can finally, truly come home. The first step is facing a truth that will feel like swallowing glass. You must admit to yourself, with no room for negotiation, I disappeared long before she did. You have to confess that the man she was drawn to, the man with a fire in his eyes, a mission in his heart, a direction in his step, slowly, almost imperceptibly, vanished, and in his place, a ghost appeared. A ghost who went through the motions, mistaking routine for stability. A ghost who lived in a state of quiet compromise, believing he was being agreeable, when in fact he was being empty. A ghost who traded his purpose for comfort, his truth for quiet evenings, his personal legend for the temporary validation of a relationship. From the inside, it probably felt like peace. From the outside, it looked like surrender. You must confess that you broke the most important contract a man ever makes, the contract with his own potential. You looked at the man you promised yourself you would become, and you turned your back on him. You left him. The woman in your life was not the judge. She was merely the mirror reflecting your own absence back at you. Her leaving was merely the echo of your own departure. She was not leaving you. She was leaving the empty space where you used to be. This is the foundational confession. Acknowledge it fully, and we can begin. Once we face this, we must ask the question, why? Why does a man with fire in his heart allow the flame to die out? Why does he trade a kingdom for a cage of comfort? The why is the seductive whisper of the poor eternus, the eternal boy within the man, the archetype that fears commitment, not just commitment to a woman, but commitment to a path. Because a true path always involves discipline, and discipline involves pain. The eternal boy flees from necessary pain. When you first met her, you were likely on your path. You had a vision. You were building something, a career, a body, a life. This is the masculine energy that is irresistibly attractive, a man in motion, driven by a mission larger than himself. She was drawn to the man who was striving to become. But then the relationship became comfortable. The eternal boy whispered, "You've won the prize. The hunt is over. You can rest now." And so you did. You stopped going to the gym as often. You put the side project on the back burner. You started spending your evenings in passive consumption instead of active creation. Your mission, which was once your North Star, became secondary to the relationship itself. When a man makes a woman his purpose, He becomes a psychic vampire. He has no internal source of energy, so he begins to drain hers. He needs her validation, her happiness, her attention to feel alive. This is an impossible burden to place on another human being. She fell in love with a king, building his kingdom. And she woke up next to a court jester, content to live in the castle she provided. She didn't leave the king, she left the jester who had deposed him. Understanding the pattern reveals the path to break it. This is the journey of coming home to yourself. It requires reversing the 4 primary acts of self-abandonment by making 4 sacred oaths. First is the oath of purpose. The eternal boy seeks comfort. The man seeks a mission. Your purpose must be the central organizing principle of your life. A man without a mission is a ship without a rudder, a danger to himself and a burden to others. It is not selfish to have a purpose beyond her. It is the greatest gift you can give because it is the source of your energy, your passion, and your vitality. Recommit to your path today. Second is the oath of integrity. You left yourself every time you broke a promise you made to yourself. The promise to wake up early, the promise to read that book, the promise to learn that skill. Each broken promise was a small act of self-betrayal that eroded your own belief in yourself. Self-trust is the bedrock of all trust. If your word to yourself is worthless, your word to her is built on sand. The path back is simple. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Start small. Build back your integrity, one fulfilled promise at a time. Third is the oath of presence. The ghost you became was rarely ever there. You were at dinner, but you were thinking about work. You were in a conversation, but you were scrolling on your phone. This creates a vacuum in the space between you. She can feel that void. It's a coldness, an emptiness where a man used to be. The path back is radical presence. When you are with her, be with her. When you are working, work, be where you are, fully. And fourth is the oath of truth. In your desire to maintain comfort, you stopped speaking your truth. You agreed when you disagreed. You said yes when you meant no. You abandoned your own perspective to avoid conflict. Speaking your truth, even when it risks a confrontation, is an act of profound respect. It tells her you trust her to handle the real you. The path back is to speak your truth calmly and with respect, but without apology. This leads us to the final stage, the awakening. The goal of this work is not to get her back. That is the thinking of the ghost. It is a shallow, reactive desire. To fixate on getting her back is to admit you are still lost. The true awakening's the profound, earth-shattering realization that your relationship with yourself is the primary relationship of your life. All others are merely a reflection of it. She is not the prize. Becoming the man you were born to be is the prize. The awakening is when you stop seeking a woman to make you feel like a king, and you focus instead on the daily, difficult, glorious work of building your own kingdom. You become the source of your own light, and you stop being defined by who or what reflects it. The man who has returned to himself, who is driven by purpose, who trusts his own word, who is radically present, and who speaks his truth, is an oak tree. He's not a vine seeking something to cling to. His validation is internal. His peace is non-negotiable. He becomes a man who, by his very nature, cannot truly be left, because he is never separate from his own center. When you become this man, one of two things will happen. You will attract a woman who is deeply drawn to this unshakable foundation, or you will find a wholeness within yourself so profound that the need for external validation simply withers and dies. So do not mourn her departure. It was not an act of abandonment. It was a gift. It was the catalyst. It was the alarm bell ringing, waking you from your slumber, telling you it is finally time to come home.